Before we start, a little reminder to hit the subscribe button. Just 4% of my channel is subscribed. The expedition spaceship drifted silently above the old planet, its deep green glow casting strange shadows across Earth's bleak surface. Captain Varric gazed through the reinforced viewport, his dual hearts thumping with a mixture of anticipation and worry. Earth, one of the most fascinating forbidden worlds in the galaxy archives, stood before him, unchanged for 500 millennia. To the Federation, it was a graveyard. To the adventurous, it was a treasure trove waiting to be claimed. "Scan results," Varric inquired, his voice cutting through the tension on the bridge. "No signs of organic life, Captain," answered First Officer Dren, his four-fingered hands scanning over the control panels. But he hesitated. "Something is active down there. Energy data reveal a dormant system, possibly military infrastructure, ancient yet intact." Varric's eyes narrowed. "Are you telling me that after 500,000 years, Earth's defenses still have power?" Dren swallowed hard. "It appears so, sir, and based on the patterns, they might still be active." The bridge fell silent. The Federation had long dismissed humanity as an anomaly, an aggressive, warlike race that had gone in an event cloaked in mystery. Some feared they had annihilated themselves in a final cataclysmic war. Others whispered that they had risen, leaving their weapons and ruins behind. Whatever the reality was, Earth had been abandoned, but its silence had never seemed gloomy until now. "Deploy the survey drones," Varric instructed, his mind racing. "I want a comprehensive analysis before we dispatch an expedition team. Focus on the electricity sources. Find out what we're dealing with." A squadron of sleek, spherical drones, released from the vessel's underbelly, plunging through the planet's atmosphere like falling stars. The monitors flared to life as their feeds began sending images in real time. The Earth below was a world stuck in time. The once mighty metropolis were little more than skeletal remnants, overrun with nature's restoring hand. Roads had fallen into dust, and rivers now carved through abandoned remains. But then, the drones spotted something unnatural, something undisturbed by time. In the center of what had once been Earth's largest military stronghold, massive. Structures stood intact, their black metal hulls shining beneath the harsh glare of the system's twin suns. There were no signs of life, no movement, only chilly, silent silence. "Captain," Drenk's voice was barely above a whisper. "These structures, these are not ruins. They were built to last. They are sealed, shielded, and releasing energy. Readings unlike anything in the known galaxy." Varric leaned forward. "This isn't just a war relic. This is an arsenal, and it's still alive." His mind raced with the consequences. If the Federation could acquire Earth's surviving technology, they would have an edge unlike anything seen in recorded history. But there was another possibility, one that shot an ice shudder through his veins. "Have we triggered anything?" he demanded sternly. Dren hesitated. "Unknown. But..." He tapped at his console. One of the drones just picked up a transmission. A signal. It's faint, but it's there. And it's not coming from us. Varric felt the weight of the moment settle over him. "Patch it through." A blast of static filled the bridge. Then, through the distortion, a voice, cold, mechanical, and ancient, spoke in a language that had not been heard in 500,000 years. "Authorization code requested. Defense protocol incomplete. System awake. Identify." A startled silence spread over the team. "Captain," Dren whispered, his voice dry. "I think we just woke something up." Varric's mind whirled. The possibilities were terrible. If Earth's defenses were still operating, then they were likely set to respond with devastating force against intruders. And worse, if whatever was buried here was still functional, it indicated the humans had planned for something before they departed. Something even they had feared. "Begin a controlled descent. We need to see this with our own eyes," Varric ordered, resisting the discomfort gnawing at his core. "Deploy the ground troops. Keep weapons hot, but don't shoot unless fired upon. If this is a trap, we need to know before it's too late." As the ship fell, the static transmission grew stronger. More words began to come in, each more unsettling. Then the last. "Strategic Automated Defense Network reactivated. User input required. Protocol query, engage or stand by." The crew exchanged concerned glances. The message wasn't a warning. It was a question. Something in Earth's war. Machine had woken up, and it was waiting for an answer. The alien exploration ship descended slowly into Earth's atmosphere, its defensive shields humming as it plowed through the leftovers of long-dissipated human contamination. Below, the huge ruins extended forever, eerily still save for the steady hum of energy emanating from the still-active war machines. Captain Var stood at the observation deck, his grasp tightening on the rail. He had seen many planets, abandoned outposts, war-torn civilizations. But nothing compared to this. "Deploy the landing team," Varric instructed. "I want eyes on the ground immediately." Dren hesitated. "Sir, we don't know what we're heading into. That transmission, it's not just a leftover signal. Something here is actively responding to us." Varric exhaled sharply. "That's exactly why we need to get down there. If Earth's combat systems are still active, the Federation has to know. If we can control it, we get an edge. If not, we might be standing in the center of something bigger than we ever dreamed." Moments later, a smaller drop craft split from the main vessel, descending toward what seemed to be the center of Earth's long-buried military complex. The landing zone was a large, fortified complex, half buried under layers of earth and foliage, yet still generating an unusual energy signature. Massive locked doors loomed before them, their metal plating untouched by time. The landing team, 5 highly trained specialists, disembarked gingerly, their exosuits suited to the planet's oxygen-nitrogen mix as they spread out, examining the area with high-powered sensors. The stillness was nearly stifling. Then, the hush broke. User existence confirmed. System access recognized, awaiting command. The voice boomed through their helmets, resonating in their bones. It wasn't a warning. It wasn't an attack. It was waiting. "Dren," Varric mumbled, his voice barely above a whisper, "can we bypass the security?" The first cop shook his head. "Not without understanding the command structure. This system, it's unlike anything we've seen. The design is stubborn. It's denying our access attempts, waiting for a very particular trigger." Var's brow wrinkled. A human. It was unsettling. The concept that these robots, these defenses, had waited for 500,000 years with such unbroken patience was nearly inconceivable. There was something spooky about it, something that screamed of a purpose beyond ordinary protection. One of the troops, Reen, was performing scans on the gigantic battle constructs lining the chamber. His voice came through the comms tinged with uncertainty. "Captain, these machines, they aren't just battle drones. There's something different. The composition of their armor, it's much beyond our current technology. And their energy. Cores. They aren't nuclear. They aren't fusion. Whatever fuels these machines, it hasn't decayed in 500,000 years." Varric turned sharply. "You're saying these could still be functional?" Reen hesitated. "Not just functional, sir. Operational? If the system engaged, these things could move." An uneasy silence swept over the crew. It was one thing to discover an ancient armory. It was another to know that Arsenal might yet be capable of war. Then, the voice returned. "Error. No human command input detected. Primary directive unfulfilled. Failsafe protocol active." A tremendous rumbling began to rock the chamber. Lights that had stayed black for millennia suddenly sparked to life. The ground trembled beneath their feet. "Captain!" Dren shouted. "Something's happening!" From the far side of the chamber, a large door began to rise, revealing an inner sanctum behind it. A huge console sat at the heart of the facility, bathed in an eerie crimson glow. A single pedestal stood at the middle, and above it, a sign none of them knew floated in holographic display. But the instant they took a step toward it, something else happened. The machines stirred. A metallic groan echoed through the chamber. As the enormous constructs, once frozen in time, began to shift. Limbs twitched. Optics flickered to life with a deep crimson glow. The air vibrated with an unseen energy as one of the titanic war machines straightened, its massive head turning toward them. "Identify." The voice was different this time. Not the cold automation of a forgotten system, but something else. Something aware. Weapons powered up. Targeting systems locked on. And for the first time in 500,000 years, Earth's ultimate war fleet awakened. And they were not happy to see intruders. The chamber erupted with red warning lights as klaxons howled through the ancient stronghold. The massive war machines, their hulking frames still coated in the dust of centuries, groaned as they rose to their full height. Weapon systems hummed with a rising, terrible energy, one the aliens had never encountered before. "Captain," Varric's mind raced, "we've triggered something we don't understand." His fingers twitched toward his weapon, but he knew better than to start a fight he couldn't win. These machines weren't just relics, they were predators, and his team were prey, standing in their domain. "Dren," Varric barked. "What are we dealing with?" Dren's hands flew over his wrist display, his scanner struggling to make sense of the war constructs. His eyes widened in horror. "Captain, these things are beyond our understanding. Their alloys are unidentifiable. Their power sources, off the charts. They're not just active, sir. They're thinking." Varric stiffened. Thinking before Dren could respond. The deep, thunderous voice returned. But this time, it wasn't a simple automated response. There was something behind it. An intelligence lurking beneath the cold precision of machine logic. Error. Unrecognized species detected. Non-human presence confirmed. Protocol. Threat analysis initiated. The ground team exchanged glances. Threat. Analysis? That didn't sound like an invitation to negotiate. "Back away," Varric ordered, his voice calm but firm. "Do not make sudden movements. Let's not give them a reason to decide we're a threat." One of the soldiers, Ron, clenched his fists. "Captain, they're deciding if they should kill us." As if to confirm his fears, one of the colossal war machines, easily towering over any known species' military constructs, turned its head with an unnatural fluidity. The motion sent an eerie shudder through the chamber, as if the very air recoiled from its awakening. It spoke. "Query, where are the humans?" The voice, though mechanical, carried something beneath its surface. A question, yes, but also expectation. Like a guardian waking from its slumber and realizing its charges were gone. Varric hesitated. How do you tell an ancient war fleet that its masters vanished 500,000 years ago? He took a breath. The humans are gone. The silence that followed was suffocating. The war machines did not move, did not react, not in the way Varric expected. Then, the red glow in their optics dimmed for a moment, almost as if they were processing grief. "Impossible!" The single word rumbled through the chamber like a shockwave. And then, something changed. The fortress shuddered as, deep within its structure, hidden mechanisms activated. A new set of symbols flickered across the towering consoles, and a wave of energy rippled through the facility. Dren gasped. "Captain, they're accessing something. A log, maybe." The war machines, still locked onto the intruders, began transmitting. The chamber's main console erupted with holographic projections, grainy images, corrupted data streams, and finally a voice. A human voice. "If you are hearing this, it means we failed. It means humanity is gone, and it means you are standing in the last fortress of mankind." Varric held his breath. The hologram flickered, revealing the image of a human figure clad in military attire. His face was worn, tired, but his eyes burned with an intensity that transcended time. "We built this fleet to protect what we loved. But if you are hearing this, it means our enemy was greater than even we could imagine." The recording distorted, but the word sent a chill down Varric's spine. Enemy. Humanity hadn't simply disappeared. They had been fighting something, the hologram. Continued. This war fleet was designed to activate in the event of our extinction. It was programmed to wait, to listen for our voices. But if we have fallen, then the only logical conclusion is that whatever destroyed us is still out there. A long silence followed. Then, the war machine nearest to Varric straightened. The red glow in its optics flickered again. Humanity is extinct. Their war is unfinished. Varric's stomach twisted. Their war? The machine's optics flickered. Failsafe protocol engaged. Alliance query initiated. Dren looked at him sharply. "Captain, I don't like where this is going." Varric ignored him. "Explain. Alliance query." The machine's response was immediate. "Warfare requires command structure. Human commanders lost. Adaptation necessary." Reen's voice crackled through the comms. "Captain, I think they're asking if we're willing to fight in humanity's place." Varric clenched his jaw. The implications were terrifying. Humanity had built this fleet to wage a war so catastrophic that it outlived its own creators. Now, the machines were looking for a new master, a new species to take up their fight. But against what? Before he could ask, the room trembled. A deep mechanical groan reverberated through the fortress as ancient systems surged to life. Consoles flickered, walls split open. Suddenly, the room was no longer a relic of the past. It was a battlefield waiting to be rearmed. Holograms lit up across the chamber, displaying maps, tactical readouts, fleet formations, and then something else. An image filled the central display. It was not human. Varric felt a chill crawl up his spine as he stared at the monstrous, angular shapes rendered in cold, alien vision. Ships, unlike anything in the known galaxy, armies of biomechanical constructs. Their twisted forms built for annihilation. The machine spoke again. Primary directive: erase the enemy. Mission status: incomplete. Dren exhaled sharply. Captain, I think we just found out what happened to humanity. Varric didn't respond. His eyes were locked onto the alien war machines displayed before them. Whatever these things were, they had wiped out one of the most advanced species the galaxy had ever known. And now Earth's last war fleet was asking if Varric's people would help finish the fight. The machine's voice rumbled one last time. Alliance decision required. Will you stand with us? Varric had never felt so small. He had come to Earth to uncover a long-dead civilization's secrets. Instead, he had found a war waiting to be resumed, a war so ancient, so devastating, that even the victors had vanished. And now, standing in the heart of Earth's last fortress, he realized something terrifying. The war wasn't over. It had just been waiting. The chamber was suffocating with tension. The towering war machines stood still, waiting, their crimson optics glowing like unblinking eyes in the dark. The holograms above the console continued their silent display. Battles fought and lost, maps of a war spanning entire star systems, and the twisted forms of an enemy so utterly alien that Varric's mind struggled to comprehend their design. The weight of the moment pressed down on him. Earth's last war fleet had awoken after 500,000 years, and now it demanded an answer. Alliance decision required. Will you stand with us? Dren's voice was tight. Captain, we can't rush this. If we say yes, we're committing to a war we don't understand. If we say no, they might decide we're part of the problem. Varric exhaled slowly. His instincts screamed at him to choose his words carefully. The war machines were not mindless constructs. They were thinking, adapting, and making decisions based on logic ingrained into them by their long-extinct human creators. He had to approach this as a negotiation, not a demand. He took a single step forward, lifting his hands in a gesture of caution. We need more information. Who was humanity fighting? What happened to them? For a long moment, there was no response. Then, the room darkened. The holograms shifted. And then it began. A war. The images were raw, unfiltered records from the final days of humanity. The sky burned as Earth's defenses engaged a force unlike anything Varric had ever seen. Great writhing ships that defied conventional physics descended from the void, their surfaces shifting as if alive. Massive tendrils lashed out, striking at human warships that dwarfed even the largest vessels Varric had ever known. Planets crumbled. Space itself twisted under the weight of unearthly weapons. Humanity had fought to the bitter end, deploying war fleets so vast that they blocked out entire stars. And still, they had lost. The recordings flickered, showing the last human commanders in their final transmissions. This is High Commander Elias Harth. We are initiating Exodus Protocol. Earth is lost. We cannot win this war, but we can deny them total victory. Project Sentinel has been activated. If you are receiving this, we failed. The transmission cut to static. The machine spoke once more. Enemy designation: the Harrowing. Status: unknown. Last recorded engagement: final human stand at Earth. Dren's face was pale. They called it the Harrowing. Varric's mind spun. The name alone sent a primal shudder through him. This enemy, whatever it was, had wiped out humanity, the most feared and advanced species in recorded history. And yet, what do you mean, status unknown? Varric asked carefully. The machine's optics flared. No record of final enemy fate. Humanity's last action, global lockdown of war protocols. Directive was to wait, for human command input. That input never came. The realization hit Varric like a physical blow. The harrowing hadn't necessarily won. Humanity had set their war, machines to sleep, leaving their fate unknown. Did humanity flee? Did they strike back one last time? Or had something else happened? One thing was clear. The war machines had been programmed for one final contingency, to wait until someone reactivated them. And now, that someone was Varric, Captain. Dren whispered, "If we say yes, we might be unleashing something even the Federation isn't ready for." Varric's heart pounded. If the harrowing was still out there, lurking in the void, waiting for another chance to strike, then humanity's war wasn't just their own. It belonged to the galaxy now. Alliance decision. Required? Varric took a breath. "We stand with you." The war machines came alive. The fortress shook as thousands of dormant systems activated, long-buried structures shifting, unlocking. In the distance, beyond the ruins, titanic warships, black as night, sleek as death, began to rise from their resting places beneath the surface. Weapons hummed to life. Energy cores burned with power unseen for eons. For the first time in 500,000 years, Earth was preparing for war. And whatever was out there in the dark, it would soon know that humanity's wrath had only been delayed. The ground trembled as Earth's war fleet emerged over the wrecked terrain. Ancient weaponry lit up, their dormant systems bursting to life after 500,000 years of silence. Warships the size of cities erupted from beneath the Earth, their black hulls glittering as though freshly formed. From the command center, Captain Varric and his staff could only watch as the unimaginable unfurled before them. Varric's throat was dry. "Dren, tell me I'm seeing this." Dren's voice was muffled with disbelief. "You're seeing it, Captain, and so is the entire galaxy, if those ships go online." The machines had accepted Varric's judgment. Earth's war engines were no longer waiting. They were preparing for conflict. The lead war machine, the one that had addressed them first, stepped closer, its gigantic frame creating an imposing shadow as it surveyed Varric's crew once more. Command accepted. War protocols re-established. Strategic alignment essential. The holograms above the console flickered again, morphing into formations, battle lines, enemy marks, fleet positions. It was a war map, but one that had been kept unfilled for 500,000 years. The closing minutes of humanity's desperate fight, and now the machines expected Varric to do it. New command protocol required. Strategic target designation. Dren tensed. "Captain, they want us to tell them where to strike." Varric glanced at the massive war map. Thousands of enemy signatures had once inhabited the field, but the harrowing's last known positions were frozen in time. The machines had no new data, no indication whether the adversary still existed, where they had gone, or if they were, even alive. And yet, they were ready to go to war, as if no time had gone. The weight of the decision bore on him. Was he ready to unleash an ancient terror into the galaxy? Would these machines even know when to stop? He turned toward the lead battle machine. "We need more information before we can commit to a full-scale assault," he stated gently. "If the enemy is still out there, we need to know where they are. Otherwise, we're wasting resources." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, the war machine's optics flashed with strange awareness. Query. Logic accepted. Reconnaissance initiated. The ground rocked again. From the gloomy remains smaller, sleek drones emerged. Scout spacecraft that had been buried alongside their larger counterparts. They launched into the sky, speeding for the emptiness like hunting birds unleashed from their prison. They would walk forth, examining the heavens for any evidence of the adversary. Varric let out a slow breath. That buys us time. But then, something unexpected happened. A different signal rang across the chamber, deeper, more urgent. The war machine's optics moved, its gigantic frame moving toward a second console that had been dark until now. Warning, external signal detected. Varric's blood ran cold. What? Dren's hands rushed over his scanner, his voice harsh. "Captain, something just pinged us. From outside the system, it's not one of ours." Varric's mind raced. Had they been discovered? Had someone been watching all along? The war machine spoke again. Unknown signal origin. Distance, 20 light years. Pattern match, partial harrowing signature. A chill swept through the entire team. The harrowing. Dren's voice was barely above a whisper. If that's them, they might have just realized that Earth isn't dead anymore. The consequences were terrifying. If the harrowing still existed, if even a sliver of their forces remained, then awakening Earth's war fleet has just sent a beacon straight to them. And if they were anything like humanity had feared, they were coming. Varric clenched his hands. There was no turning back now. The conflict that had once ended civilization was about to begin again, and this time, there would be no retreat. The bridge of the expedition vessel was a maelstrom of activity. Captain Varric stood at the center, watching as data came in from the war machines below. Across the holographic monitors, the unknown signal pulsed, a rhythmic, precise pattern that sent a chill through the entire crew. "The harrowing has heard us." Drenk's voice was strained. "Captain, the signal is analyzing us. It's probing, trying to determine what just woke up down there." Varric's gut twisted. This wasn't just a wayward communication. This was a test. The harrowing wasn't charging in blindly. They were watching, waiting. "Do they want to know if humanity is truly back?" Varric asked. Dren stared at the gigantic battle machines standing in eerie calm around them. "They're waiting for us." Varric glanced toward the towering machine that had spoken first, its crimson optics gleaming like a predator seeking unseen prey. "You recognize the signal?" Varric said. "You know what it is." The machine's optics pulsed once. "Hostile signature confirmed. Partial enemy pattern recognized. Strategic options, engage or observe." Varric's mind raced. If they engaged, now they would be rushing headfirst into a battle 500,000 years old. But if they hesitated, they might be allowing an unknown terror plan for another attack. Then, the war machine spoke again. "Enemy testing response. Seeking humanity." The words shot a deep, primitive horror into Varric's bones. The harrowing wasn't just listening, they were searching, hunting. Humanity had disappeared, and now, after all this time, something had stirred on Earth. They wanted to know who had awakened. Dren breathed sharply. "Captain, if we let them escape now, they might come back in full force. And if they're anything like what we saw in the archives, we won't survive." Varric knew the truth. This conflict was never over. The harrowing had won the first fight, but they had never declared victory. They had left something behind, a final murmur in the vacuum, waiting to hear if their ancient nemesis would ever rise again. And now, they had their answer. Varric glanced at the war machines, at the sleeping warships buried beneath Earth's ruins, at the countless columns of silent, waiting weaponry. 500,000 years ago, humanity had created its final defense. Now, the decision was in Varric's hands, his fingers curled into a fist. "Send a response." Dren hesitated. "Captain," Varric's voice was steady, "broadcast this on all frequencies. We are not human, but we are their legacy, and we are ready." The message sent. The silence extended. Then, deep in the vacuum, the mysterious signal moved. The harrowing had heard them, and they were approaching. Behind him, Earth's war fleet, fully awakened, weapons hummed with force unseen in 500,000 years. Engines roared as gigantic warships ascended from their slumber, shaking off the dust of ages. The final struggle for humanity had not been fought. It had just been waiting, and now it was time to finish it. Hey everyone! If you enjoy these epic HFY stories, don't forget to subscribe, press the like button, and drop a comment below to let us know your favorite portion or what stories you'd love to hear next. Your support keeps the channel growing and the tales coming. Thanks for being part of the video.